Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, a video that everybody under the sun has been asking me to make, a Delta Force settings guide video. If you're new to the channel, my name is Enders, and I really like making guides. I plan on making guides for weapon builds such as this. So if you want to learn how to build crazy weapons in Delta Force or learn anything about the game, definitely hit the like button on this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to try to pump those out for you guys. Today's video is going to be a settings video, and we have a lot to talk about. So I suppose let's just get right into it. You may be wondering, why am I in the test range? I will explain later. Okay. First thing, let's go into game settings here. This is where you find some combat settings, airborne automatic mantle, weapon switching via scroll wheel. These two are really personal preference. Actually, all three of these are personal preference. But the biggest one here is definitely scope magnification adapts automatically. You may know this as a setting called ADS FOV in other games. What this does is, I have it on right now, and I'll just aim down sights. You see how it only takes into account my calibrated weapon zoom, which is 1.5 on this red dot sight. If I were to turn this off, you see I zoom way more, right? So turn this setting on if you want ADS FOV from other games on. Then you just have like hit effects and all that stuff, basically just blood. It's cool. You can actually choose between a lot of different blood colors. This is where you find a bunch of system settings like marking, which is basically spotting. I'll show you what that does. Never mind, I can't. But basically, it's like spotting or marking an area in Apex Legends. You can ping something. This is where you find these settings. You can change press to mark on or off, which I'm not sure why you would ever have that off. And then this is where you find a lot of the extraction shooter settings, guys, okay? So things like high-value items in the safe box first, your item sorting order, right? If you want to change anything about the way your items are sorting in the extraction shooter mode, this is where you come to do it in game. Then it's under system, a bunch of settings to do that here. Now, going to keyboard and mouse, this is where some really interesting things take place, okay? So these are all your sensitivities and sensitivity multipliers, okay? This is the main mouse sensitivity. A lot of people look at this and are confused. There are a bunch of different things here. This is your main mouse sensitivity. Now, another huge setting here that you're going to want to pay attention to is ADS sensitivity type. They take a look at this and say MDV only, set sensitivity per zoom plus MDV, set MDV per zoom, set sensitivity per zoom. So really confusing. Try to simplify it. MDV only is basically uniform soldier aiming from Battlefield 2042 or any Battlefield game that you've played, okay? What that means is it basically tries to set your sensitivity correctly between all different types of zoom, whether it be 1x, 1.5x like right here, 2x, you know, and above. So everything from 1x to 12x or whatever is in this game. It does it automatically. Then you have your coefficient here. I play on 178. It defaults to 133. I would try both. Don't ask me why. This is just like sort of assumed knowledge I have from many other games. Try 133, which is default, or 178 and see how you like it. Now, the other sensitivity options here. So right here, you have uniform soldier aiming and the ability to set your sensitivity per zoom. So I'll just set it here real quick. So you have your coefficient, then you can also tweak the individual zoom sensitivities here. Or you can set your coefficient per zoom, which I'm going to be honest, guys, I would not recommend this. Then you can completely disable MDV or uniform soldier aiming with only set sensitivity per zoom. But this is sort of, I'd say, a very advanced user's setting. You're going to have to individually set each and every sensitivity in the entire game manually, okay? So it's pretty difficult. For most players, just go with MDV only, okay? The next setting you're going to want to take a look at is sensitivity transition mode. So this is another sort of personal preference thing, but there is one setting here that I would say definitely don't use. So basically, this takes your hipfire sensitivity and transitions it to your ADS sensitivity. And you can choose how that wants to happen. So you can choose it happen. You can choose to make it happen during the transition itself. You can choose to instantly make your sensitivity, your ADS sense, once you hit your ADS button, whatever that is, whether it be, you know, traditional right click or whatever you set it to, or you can toggle it to only change to your ADS sense at the end of your ADS. So it would be hipfire, and then ADS sense, right? And then the middle setting, which is toggle at start of ADS, as soon as you hit this key, as soon as you hit your aim key, you're using your ADS sensitivity. And then ADS transition is, it transitions to your sensitivity as you're aiming, right? So those are those settings. I prefer ADS transition. Again, I would suggest ADS transition for most players. However, some people are definitely going to get use out of toggle at the start of ADS. I would never use toggle at end of ADS. I just think it's pretty weird. This is where you find your inverted input and all that. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, ground vehicle sensitivities. This is where you find your ground vehicle uniform soldier aiming as well. I haven't really tweaked anything here. This is aircraft, gunner sensitivity, all that stuff. So just the same, but this is for vehicles. Then in terms of keybinds, obviously everything, sensitivity is personal preference. Keybinds are personal preference, but there are some things here that I would suggest. So first of all, this is where you find all of your toggle/hold options for your individual binds, okay? So for your leans, I play toggle lean on my mouse side buttons. It defaults to QE lean, hold. So if you like toggle lean, this is where you find it. You can change both your leans to toggle. You can also change your sprint to hold or toggle here. I prefer hold. This is where you change your aiming from hold to toggle. And this is where you change your hold breath from hold to toggle. Now, hold breath, we'll just take a minute here and explain why I play toggle hold breath. If you take a look at, let's say this weapon here, and you take a look at stability, you're gonna notice that when I breathe, this weapon is set up to essentially apply a 0.47 multiplier to my overall weapon recoil. Do you see how insane that is? So when I'm breathing, my weapon just has less recoil. The reason why toggle ADS is so important here is you only have to hit your breathe key once. And take a listen here. You can hear him breathe. Now, whenever you're shooting, you just have less recoil, right? If you were using hold to hold breath, you would have to keep holding that key the entire time you're shooting. And I just think for most people, that isn't going to be that applicable. Now, there are some things I do want to point out here in terms of individual bindings. Obviously, your lean binds are going to be very, very personal preference. I like mouse side buttons. I've even heard people use the keys V and B or C and V, and they lean with their thumb. I mean, hey, dude, if you can do that, you're insane. I don't know. I can't do that. Now, in terms of other things here, so there's something called laser aim, or I call it laser aim, right here. I think it's incredibly useful, especially if you have a weapon with a scope. You can just immediately switch to the laser aim, and it's incredibly useful in close quarters. It defaults to, the bind defaults to N, but I actually think it's so important that this switch optic or zoom key right here, I bind it to E, and I bind my gadget, which in this case is D-Wolf's triple blaster that shoots 3 grenades. I bind that to Q. And then gadget 2 is your grenade, so it defaults to G. I just keep it at G. Other than that, guys, pretty much everything there in terms of key bindings, that's just really all personal preference. You'll have to go through and figure out your stuff. But I would recommend toggle hold breath in particular. Now, moving over to screen and interaction, this is where you find some other things. Like, for instance, if you're dead on the ground and you don't want to hold your spacebar to give up, you can set it to toggle. Really, really interesting and useful, in my opinion. This is where you find your health screen for, like, the extraction shooter or whatever. You can change out the toggle, change it to hold. And adjust minimap zoom is really useful as well. That's a plus. You can change that to whatever key you want. For vehicle setting, I mean, here is, again, personal preference. I don't really think there's anything massive here. Let's go over to screen. This is where you turn on your FPS, and that will be useful later in the video. So if you want to know like performance parameters, it's in screen. Operations show detailed item pickup tips. This is again more extraction shooter things. Close backpack pickup when being attacked. This is kind of a must-have setting in my opinion. Like if you're getting shot at in the extraction mode, I would imagine this setting is very useful to have on. Again, I don't play the extraction shooter mode, but this setting I would probably recommend having on. This is where you turn on your minimap rotating. It's off by default, ladies and gentlemen. So screen, warfare, minimap, make sure that is rotating perspective is on if you prefer that. And this is where you get to change your basically your distances on the minimap as well. The minimap is a little bad in this game. I'm not really too satisfied with it, unfortunately. It's kind of like a 15 FPS minimap. But we made it to the graphics settings, guys. If you found this helpful so far, be sure to definitely hit the like button on this video so it gets spread around, and subscribe to the channel. Also, I stream every single day on Twitch. Had a crazy stream today. Like 1,700 of you showed up. Absolutely crazy. Show up to the stream, and let's go over these graphics settings. So this is where you check where the monitor that your game is displaying on. Make sure it's the right monitor. Obviously, display adapter would be your graphics card. Full screen, borderless, windowed. I recommend playing full screen. I know some people hate full screen, but guys, full screen is just simply the best for input latency and all that stuff. This is where you set your refresh rates and your aspect ratios. Game supports a lot of aspect ratios, probably custom resolutions as well. So that's pretty cool. This is where you set your frame cap and out of match frame rate cap. It's worth noting that out of match frame rate cap is how you unlock the FPS in this test range. If you notice, if I had this turned on, I'd be locked to 60 FPS, but obviously I'm getting like 280 FPS. Now, this is where you adjust sharpness. I would recommend turning sharpness up. I play 90 sharpness. Mess around with this. There is no like perfect setting here that I'm going to tell you guys just to use. Mess around with your sharpness. I think it helps the visibility and just the general look of the game. This is where you find your VSync and NVIDIA Fast Sync settings. These are very specific settings at this time. They're really only useful if you're using like G-Sync plus VSync and a frame rate cap. If you're that type of gamer, this is where you find that. FOV, personal preference, scope magnification, personal preference. This setting is weird. Scope magnification, when enabled, the scope effects will be more realistic. So if you're a big immersion lover, this is where you would find that. And obviously for graphics here, you're just going to want to turn everything low, guys. I mean, if you want the most FPS, there are some things you can get away with. Like you can probably just turn textures to ultra, texture filtering, blah, 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 all that sort of stuff. But the game looks amazing on low. I mean, look at this. Looks fine. Like, it looks unbelievable. Obviously, I'm just in a test range here, but the game looks fine on low. And this is going to be your most FPS heavy way to set the game up. Now, it's very important that you basically just set everything on low here, but you'll notice I have NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency turned off, and I'll show you why. Look at my FPS. 308, 323, 316, 283. Watch what happens when I set NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency to either low latency or enhanced, and we'll just do enhanced. Look at this. 278, 243, 215, 190, right? Let's turn that back off again. Looking at the same place, 280 almost, 270. So there is something either bugged or just like wrong with this NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency thing. It's worth noting there is a driver out for this game, guys. I imagine AMD has drivers out as well, or perhaps I did see something about AMD GPUs. I'll try to put it in the description. Maybe you have to revert back to something if you're on AMD, but I know for NVIDIA, you're absolutely going to want to upgrade your driver to the latest one and turn NVIDIA Reflex Low Latency off. Maybe it sort of matters based on what system you're running, but on my system, I get way more FPS on with this setting off. And of course, super resolution mode. If you don't want any DLSS or Intel XeSS or AMD, whatever the hell, turn it off. That is how you just have, regular scaling, no super resolution. If you want DLSS, this is where you find that setting, and then obviously you can tweak it for your purposes. So we're coming to the end of the video here. This game is incredibly loud, and I find actually turning HRTF off is beneficial. I think the sound stage is a little clearer. I can hear footsteps a little better. So I would recommend trying HRTF off. I don't believe it's turned on by default, but I know some people are probably playing with it on. So try playing with it off. And then if you want to mute the voice in the game, the voice that is yelling at you constantly, the flag has been captured, whatever it says. This is a godsend. This setting right here, voice volume 0. Trust me, guys. Just go ahead and do that, and your life will be significantly better. Okay. Now, that is pretty much the Delta Force settings video. There is a Freethy config. If you know Freethy, he's a well-known PC optimization guy. He is spreading around a config that does apparently increase FPS. I'm not going to recommend you do that because I don't know how Tencent or Jade or whoever makes this game will react to that config file. I don't know if they'll consider it allowed, so I'm just not going to recommend you do that. If you enjoy the channel, hit the like button and subscribe to the channel, guys. I'm going to have a ton of weapon guides out for weapons like this. That guy was 100 meters away, by the way. Just want to point that out. Let's see if we can kill 200 meters. Okay, so yeah. Hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you want to learn how to build this here M4. I'm going to be putting out not only individual weapon builds, but how to think about building weapons. Because you go into these weapons and you look at it and you go, okay, there are about 15,000 attachments here and a bunch of complicated stats I don't understand. And then people get lost and confused and they don't know what to do. So I'll try to help you guys out with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the pink M4. And let me know what you think about this video. I'll see you guys hopefully in the next stream. Link in the description. Goodbye.